Hello and welcome to an episode of The Upside of Sales. I'm Kasey Jones.
And I'm Ashleigh Early.
And today, in the midst of the coronavirus epidemic, we want to talk a little bit about how to handle having a meltdown or an emotional episode when it's the middle of your workday and you're trying to get things done, or maybe at the end of your workday. I don't know. But if you are at all like Ashleigh and I are, and I think everyone is kind of in this boat, at least once during this experience and probably several times, you're going to have a flood of emotions just smack you across the face, and it's going to be really hard to deal with. So we wanted to share just a few ideas and a few lessons that we have certainly learned and we try to use during these experiences. And we, of course, would love to hear from all of you what's helping you cope through these things. Because turns out shit is really hard right now.
Yeah, it's hard. Even if you're doing okay, it can feel like a lot. The analogy I've been using with a lot of people that has been resonating is it's like someone turned gravity up a couple degrees. Like everything's just a little bit harder. And then at the same time, you're looking around you and seeing a bunch of people who've been laid off. There's tons and tons and tons of people in the sales community that I know that have been directly affected by layoffs, and it's a lot. And we've got some more stuff coming for that later too. But there are definitely moments when there's a lot of stressors where emotions can run high, and emotions can be everything from suddenly hearing, like, it's like, I always love using the example of that obnoxious Sarah McLachlan ad for the ASPCA, where it's like you're watching like a Friends rerun and all of a sudden it's like badly emaciated tiny animals in the arms of, shut up, and you just like your eyes just start welling up. It's like it's just an involuntary reaction. It's really annoying, and that happens sometimes, and sometimes it's sad, sometimes it's angry. I had someone earlier today call me. It's just like, I just need to vent about my boss for 10 minutes. And this is someone who I've never heard say a mean word about anyone or complain really about much of anything. And all of a sudden, this guy was just like, oh, I'm so pissed off. This can take a lot of different forms, but if you feel yourself feeling those strong, overwhelming emotions, it's a good idea to have a little bit of thought in place so you can acknowledge, okay, I'm having a moment. I'm feeling this very strongly. Probably not a good idea to maybe go be right in front of a key client. Maybe I've got a meeting with a key client in 10 minutes. I need to get myself together so I'm not like this in front of them. Or go ask your boss for a raise, or interview for a new job, or these really pressure-ridden situations. The last thing you need is to be jacked up on a bunch of emotions that you feel like are getting in your way. So
My one point there, don't ask your boss for a raise right now.
yeah, maybe, I guess, yeah. So just a reminder, we are recording this on April 2nd, 2020. If you're listening to this in heaven, hopefully we all make it to 2021. This will not make as much sense,
No,
but in
no.
the moment.
In the moment. So first bit of advice for you is reach out to someone. And it might be to reach out to somebody to vent, like this friend of Ashleigh's did with her. It might be to just distract yourself, or it might be to get advice and really talk through what you're facing. Either way, I think one of the things that's most challenging about this experience is that we are pretty isolated. And especially if you live alone, or the nature of your work means you're not on a lot of calls, make sure to keep rooting out and feeling that sense of human connection. And it can be that. I mean, I've been loving Marco Polo with my friends. Do like it's like leaving little videos for one another. I've been way more active on social media, although there's some downsides to that, which we will talk about in a second. But just send a text, give a call, reach out, and feel that sense of human connection and remind yourself that you are not alone through all of this.
Yeah, and two things there. One, if you're not sure what to do, we've actually started hosting like Tuesday afternoon kind of women of other side of sales and allies or whatever roundtables on Bravado. So if you go to our Bravado community, you can join those on Tuesday afternoons. It's at 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific. And we're going to start doing coffee on Thursday mornings as well. So you can always check the Bravado community. We've got we're going to be doing live stuff in there. The other thing I'll say too is I've found it super helpful to always have a couple people who we've had a conversation that basically says, if you need that listening ear, that excuse to talk to somebody or whatever else, you can always call me. And basically we've got, with a couple of these girls, I've got code words where it's like, I text one of these women. One of them, it's banana. If I text her banana, she knows to call me. It's like a holdover from dating, except I never dated. Where like you're going on a blind date and you text a girlfriend, she has to call you and fake an emergency so you can get out of a bad date. For us, it was to give each other an extradition from meetings that we need to get out of because we could feel like we're about to lose our minds. And that can be super useful. If this happens to you, if you get one of these moments of extreme emotion when you're in an office, do not underestimate the power of a work spouse, whether it's another girl or another guy who you can reach out to and be like, I need you to cover for me because I need a minute. I'll be honest, I've had a woman stationed at a door to a conference room, basically giving me 5 minutes alone in a conference room so I could get my together. That was helpful for me. And I've been that woman to other people who I just sat and gave them a hug for 5 minutes while they kind of let things out. And if you're alone, you can still do all this stuff. It's just, you got to make sure you reach out though.
Yeah. And I think everybody's going through this, so people are very receptive. So.
Absolutely. The second thing I think is, and this is especially key for me, is what I call a pattern interrupt. And it's basically an intense distraction. It's really easy if you get really pissed off about something or you're feeling really overwhelmed to stay in that place and, I've got to push through. When what you really need to do is let go of it for a minute. And there's a ton of different things you can do. My usual go-to is, it's just there. I have 4 or 5 YouTube videos that I can watch or listen to, and they just make me laugh every time. A silly cat called Maru. There's a video that astronaut commander Chris Hadfield did of a cover of Space Oddity by David Bowie from the International Space Station. Just, there are things that I know I can throw on, it'll just make me happy. And throwing something like that on for a minute to do that pattern interrupt can literally like change the hormone mix in your brain and play with the endorphins and the serotonin and all the magic things that the chemical reasons for our emotions. But those can be super important. And at work too, it's also like, if you're working on a big project and it's making you feel overwhelmed, change it up, work on something else for 5 minutes. It can make a huge difference.
So I had a therapist years ago who referred to this as a pressure release valve. And the whole idea is that you do not ever want to become reliant on a single pressure release valve. So yes, sometimes having a glass of wine or having a drink when you're really stressed or really upset is okay. You don't want that to be your go-to with every single thing. So his advice for me, which was one of the best I ever did, haven't done it in a while and probably should, is he made me, my homework was to write out a list of all of the things that just made me happy. The songs that I could listen to that would put me in a good mood. Back then, I owned a Vespa. Riding my Vespa was on the list. TV shows, movies. Some of those things were also cathartic, right? So some of them were movies that made me cry my absolute ball, so the things that just got you, that either made you happy or just made you feel better about things. And I had this whole list on my, and my deal with him, and frankly, he made me do this because I was asking if it was okay that I was smoking a lot of weed while getting over a breakup. And he was like, it's okay as long as that's not your only go-to. But so what he did is he made me promise that whenever I was feeling really upset about something, I would go over to the list and I would pick one. And I didn't have to do it for very long, but I had to do it for at least a couple of minutes and see how I felt. And it was wonderful. And it made me, there were lots of things on that list, things I'd forgotten that I loved doing. And so I reminded myself, and it kept life a little interesting. And I think, might be helpful for some of us right now.
I love that idea. I'm gonna have to go build my happy things list or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Put it in my phone.
Pressure release valves.
Pressure release. I like that. And the other thing, I think you made a good point there. You mentioned your therapist gave you some ideas. There are a million different things that can act as these pattern interrupts. I know there are components of, I'm forgetting the term, but like a cognitive behavioral therapy. There are triggers, there are physical things you can do to your body. I've heard of something called bilateral stimulation, where it's like you're tapping your left leg with your left hand, your right leg with your right hand, and going just kind of right, left at a slow, steady pace. And that does something with the crossing of the wires of the brain and I don't know. Somebody was explaining it to me once and it sounded really cool. But there are tons of things you can do, both innocent with the YouTube videos and more scientific hardcore if you feel like you need that stuff that is out there. And it's a matter of building up slowly your repertoire of things that help. And accepting, I think, too, that this is going to happen and that's okay. And it's a part of being human. The sadistic side of my brain says it means you're alive. But sometimes that's not exactly what we're all looking for. I think that brings us to the third thing that we kind of came up with, which is
which is changing your surroundings, right? So oftentimes we are in a particular environment when we start to feel this way. We're doing something or we are surrounded by things that make us feel overwhelmed. And this is in a similar vein as pattern interrupt, about something that's a little bit physical. So getting out of wherever your home office is, and for some of us, if you are at home with a family, or you guys running around and a spouse also working from home, it can be really, really overwhelming. So getting out and taking a break. Maybe it's a quick walk around the block. Maybe it's going back out into the backyard and doing some jumping jacks or something. It's how can you almost hit the reset button on everything that is around you so that it makes you feel like you are genuinely taking a break from the environment that led you to feel that overwhelmed.
I'd even say one of the things I've rediscovered, and I know I'm not the only one who has, considering the apparent increase in the number of fires happening, is the joy of getting up and cooking yourself a meal. So I'm in my bedroom, I'm in my office, even if it's adjoining the kitchen, you don't work from the stove. So just getting up and okay, I'm going to cook an egg. That quick little thing can make a huge difference in literally just looking at something different. It's a subtle thing, but it makes a bigger difference than you think. And if, again, kind of same thing, if you're in a work environment, if you're in an office, going into a different conference room than you normally do, going for a walk around the block, huge, huge, huge impact. One other thing I'll say too, as somebody who has worked from home for a while, don't underestimate the power of moving furniture sometimes. When I lived in a small apartment in Arlington, Virginia, one of the best things I did one day was I just rotated my desk 90 degrees. And instead of it facing a window, it faced a wall. And I don't remember why I did it, but I did it and I left it that way for like a week. I was super productive that week. It was weird. Then I decided I was sick of looking at a wall and I rotated it back. But little things can happen. And I've had points where it's like, okay, I'm sick of working at my desk. I'm going to go pull a chair up and put my feet on a windowsill. And that way I'm working while looking out a window. There's all sorts of things that you can do to change the environment, even if you physically can't leave your environment.
Well, and also, I don't know about you. Right now, my home office is the cleanest room in my house. So the other thing, and I am not a particularly tidy human, but cleaning up can make me feel a lot better when I'm feeling overwhelmed about things. Finding some small project at home that I can do and complete and feel a moment of satisfaction can make a big difference. And I know we covered our main three things, but I did realize that there was one other thing that I've learned in the last couple of years that is, well, actually two things. There's been real help.
Bonus.
If I have a panic attack, someone taught me this once, you focus on breathing out, not breathing in. People say, oh, take a deep breath. But when you do that, sometimes it makes you kind of hyperventilate. And someone was like, no, focus on breathing out. And that made a huge difference and helped me slow down. But the other thing, this is my real bonus. Say beep, boop out loud to yourself and repeat it until you start smiling. And it'll only take you maybe 2 or 3 times, but it's almost impossible to say it out loud without smirking. It is just absurd, and it puts you in a great mood, and it works seriously every time.
Do you remember Garden State, the movie?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that reminds me of was that who? It was not Anne Hathaway. It's Natalie Portman doing the crazy dance. Nobody's ever done this exact dance in this exact place. I love that. I remember watching that at the point thinking it was really stupid, but now I'm older and I get it. Desire to do something unique.
Yeah. Do something that, I don't know, just breaks through in a kind of a silly way.
It does. And I'll give one bonus thing of my own, and that's be gentle with yourself. You don't have to figure it all out right now. It's okay to feel emotions as strongly as you feel them, and it will go away. It will pass. It feels big and scary in a moment, and it will feel better. And and that's not what you want to hear when you're in the middle of it. But just having a little voice in the back of your head that can remind you, yeah, okay, it'll be okay, even if you choose to ignore it. Giving yourself that grace to be raw and feel the things. We talked with Kasey, you mentioned being a pressure release valve. And I've even talked with managers about this. And there was a post on LinkedIn this week about how important it is for managers, in this person's opinion, and I agree, for managers to let their employees vent to them. It's okay for you as an employee to vent to your manager. Your manager should, I hope, embrace that, because the manager's job in my mind is to be a pressure release valve for your team, to help make sure that that you are releasing emotion and stress and all these things in constructive ways, so that they don't come out in unconstructive ways, which gets everybody in trouble. So if you're feeling these really strong emotions, especially in the middle of the day, take that as a sign of, okay, I've got to pay attention to some stuff. I'm glad it's coming out now in a way where I can, as annoying as it is, I don't want to deal with this right now, that I can deal with it. And maybe take some time later to give yourself some grace and go, okay, maybe I need to get off social media for a few days. Maybe I need to not watch any press conferences for a week or two. Maybe I need to be better about getting sleep at night. Give yourself that self-care once you're through it. That helps address kind of the underlying things that maybe sparked that intensity. And it's okay. And maybe the answer is just, okay, I just need to feel that, and now I'm through it, and that's okay. But regardless, give yourself that grace to know that it's okay to feel things and to not be okay all the time. It's good to feel things.
It's good to feel things. I think in a lot of the conversations I've been having with people, the challenge really comes when we're forcing ourselves to be very positive about things, heads down, super productive, and then it starts to catch up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's okay. Look, I mean, I am certainly in this boat, and pretty much everyone I've talked to is in the same, where it comes in waves. There are days where you're going to handle this well, and there are days when you just aren't. And everyone is going through it, and it's totally okay. And if you are listening to this and you do want to talk, hit us up. Let
Please.
us know. Find us on LinkedIn, find us on Twitter. Join us in the, sales roundtable on Tuesdays and just talk with us. We are absolutely here for you, and we're going through the same thing. And we definitely don't have all the answers, but we'll certainly be an ear to listen and a shoulder to cry on virtually, obviously. And we'll get through this together.
Yeah, it'll be fine one way or another. But
Yep.
on that note, please do reach out in the Bravado community on social. Don't forget about the state of sales survey. Those are going to be open through the month of April. We're really excited about that. There'll be more stuff coming throughout the month. And with that, thank you for listening to another episode of The Other Side of Sales.
Thank you.